Our other top story we're watching for you today and getting a lot of reaction on, of course, is Donald Trump's new bid for presidency 2024. The paperwork has been filed, and I guess, primary season has officially begun, folks. Last night, the former president packed the ballroom in Mar-a-Lago. John was inside. Lucky him, officially announcing that third consecutive presidential bid. Now, the speech, which we carried here in its entirety, lasted for more than an hour. Trump really laid out his America First vision for 2024. John, as you heard, and many of us did, he touted those successes, including the Abraham Accords, the 4 years, relative peace and prosperity, unlike what we're seeing today. Focused a lot of his criticism against President Biden for his administration, for all these major crises that are facing our nation, not only from abroad, but also our border security, the rising energy prices, and the crime.
Also, so much has been said recently, mostly in the mainstream press, about the division within the Republican Party and who's at fault for last Tuesday. But Donald Trump harkened back to his first presidential campaign, and he started the process of building a coalition last night where he talked and promised to be the voice of the American people.
I am your voice. I am your voice. The Washington establishment wants to silence us, but we will not let them do that. What we have built together over the past 6 years is the greatest movement in history, because it is not about politics. It's about our love for this great country, America, and we're not going to let it fail.
All right, let's welcome in two gentlemen who were in the room with President Trump last night. Hogan Gidley, the former deputy assistant to President Trump. Also with us, Jason Miller, former senior advisor to President Trump. Guys, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
Okay, Hogan, I saw you across the room. I tried to yell at you, but I was all penned up with the fake news media. I'm kidding, of course, but
Are you?
maybe not.
Are you?
We already talked about the press coverage of this. We'll leave that alone. But I wanted to get your reaction to what you thought was the most impactful moment from last night's announcement ceremony.
Well, look, I think in large part you touched on some of the things that the American people are clamoring for, and it's a return to the America First policies that made people's lives better across this country for all Americans, regardless of race, religion, color, or creed. Donald Trump did that, and he outlined a vision looking forward on how we can get those successes back. He led that effort once. He can do it all over again, and I think he will. That speech struck the perfect tone. I know Jason probably had a lot to do with that as well. And the president was really hitting some strong points last night, and also getting people back in the mindset of, hey, we don't have to accept what the media says about us. We don't have to accept what the left points out as problems when they've all been proven to be liars time and time again. Donald Trump's administration really did pave the way forward to teach people not only we can fight back, but we can win and we can provide successes for the people of this country. He did it once. I think he can do it again.
Jason, love to get your thoughts on last night's speech. Again, it had a different tone than a rally speech per se, as Hogan also just alluded to. What were some of your favorite moments as you watched also the crowd there to enjoy it as well?
Well, I love very much the fact that President Trump got back to a lot of the 2016 messaging of being the anti-Washington, the anti-establishment candidate. He used that critical line that we need someone different than a traditional candidate. Can't be a conventional candidate who can go and get our country back on track. When we talk about fighting the swamp, which, by the way, Drain the Swamp became a huge chant during the speech. If you look at some of the applause lines, some of the standing ovations, term limits, making sure that members of Congress aren't making money from insider trading deals, making sure members of Congress can't become lobbyists in the future. Getting back to, as you played the clip or made the point, I am your voice. This is our campaign. Some people went into last night wanting to hear President Trump talk about reversing America's decline, getting our economy back on track. Other voters, in addition, wanted to hear him get some of the swagger back from 2016. I am your fighter. I think he accomplished both.
Yeah, real quickly, guys.
Absolutely.
I want to ask you, we're just being told now that Mitch McConnell has been reelected, the Senate Minority Leader. We'll talk more about the speech in just a second, but as we're learning this, I want to get you guys to react to it real quickly. Hogan, first to you, and then to you, Jason.
Look, I think a lot of people are divided over Mitch McConnell. If you want me to try to get in Mitch McConnell's head, having been in that White House for 4 years, and try to explain kind of some of the moves he makes, it's going to be a very interesting conversation because I don't think I can actually explain it. But look, I think the Republican Party obviously sees something in Mitch McConnell when he was in the minority that they like. They're going to have to stand up and take that vote, and they're going to have to take account for that. If their constituents don't like it, I'm sure they'll pay some sort of price. But Mitch had some questionable action in the last election cycle, but a lot of folks on the right had a lot of questionable actions in the last cycle. So, look, I think it's status quo over there in the Senate, and hopefully they can unite around preventing some of these incredibly damaging policies from Joe Biden from moving forward. I know we've got the House back, so that is going to help a whole lot, but hopefully the Senate can use a little bit more of its power. It somehow seems we get rolled when we're in the minority, we get rolled in the majority. Hopefully, Mitch McConnell can put an end to some of the bleeding out there on the right.
Hogan Gidley being quite diplomatic. I can appreciate that. Jason Miller, what do you think?
Yeah, a lot less diplomatic. We're in the minority, and Mitch McConnell should have put more money into Nevada, into Arizona. Mitch McConnell could have strong-armed Brian Kemp and said, go and actually endorse Herschel Walker. Let's get him over 50 early on. Key thing, I want to go back to the point of the anti-establishment, anti-Washington vibe that I think President Trump helped get his swagger back more to the 2016. One of the biggest applause lines that President Trump had in 2016 when he would say that he's running against the failures of the political professionals from both parties, Republicans and Democrats.
Yes.
I think Mitch McConnell being in control of the Senate gives President Trump the opportunity to say to independent voters, to people who are the Trump voters, hey, I'll criticize Republicans if they're not actually fighting for you. And I think he can do that with regard to a Mitch McConnell-led minority. Unfortunately, we're not in the majority. We're in the minority. Could have been in the majority. Money didn't get spent in the right places. But I think you'll see not quite the same level of triangulation that we saw of, say, back in the 90s. That was obviously an incumbent president. But I think President Trump has the opportunity to do that from the outside going into 2024.
Jason, yeah.
Can I make one?
Go ahead.
One quick point. Jason's absolutely right here. What was so striking about the speech, I'm so glad he brought it up, because that was one of the times the room really got electric, and it was pointing out the difference between the elites and everybody else. Donald Trump said, I was that voice for you in 2016. I'll be that voice for you again. Remember, it's not that they hate me. They do. They hate you. I'm just standing in the way. That type of message and that type of vibe, because people on the right and the left, Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals, have largely turned their back on the American people for decades in this country. Once they get elected, they don't listen to their constituencies. That's one reason Donald Trump really moved forward in 2016, and that's why I think he can do this all over again, because we're getting back to that same old mentality out there where the elites have all the power and they try to dictate to us out here in the country. I don't think people like that, and I like the fact that Donald Trump said, no, we're not going to let that happen anymore.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell may have won this leadership battle, but he's wounded as a result of it. And what you guys are talking about is so important. It was apparent in the speech, and it goes back to what Donald Trump was able to do in the rallies the first time around, is talk about we and what we're going to do. We're going to build the wall. We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to lock her up, even though that didn't happen, but it still brought everyone together on the Republican Party. And it sounds like he was in that tone. Now, the question is, can he maintain that type of tone and that type of discipline that we saw last night?
Right, because, he's out early now, so we've got a long time for him to be out there, and there will be contenders, as we know. We know DeSantis is, vying as well. So, Jason, to you, he did come out a week after the midterms here and made his announcement. How does he use this time as we're looking at, more than 400 days to the Iowa caucuses?
Yeah, great question. Number one, this puts the focus on 2024 and Joe Biden. Going back to the Sunday shows, even the final days before the midterms, Democrats didn't want Joe Biden anywhere near any of the pivotal races. He was campaigning in Maryland, for goodness sake. When's the last time you had a Democrat incumbent president going to Maryland down the home stretch of the midterms? But that's the only place that would take Joe Biden. Anita Dunn gave a very tortured answer about whether or not Biden would run again in 2024. She said probably, but there's no enthusiasm there, even for someone who's a Biden insider. But now the focus is back on Biden, someone who can't tell the difference between Colombia and Cambodia, someone who's really become, I think, a laughingstock on the global stage. Biden can't hide anymore. Now it's on him. The mano-a-mano matchup with President Trump and Joe Biden, exactly what we, when I say we, Hogan, myself, people who are strong Trump supporters, want to see.
All right, guys, great to see you both. Thanks for your insight, and good to see you from across the room last night as well.
Thank you.